Hi, I'm Carole Owens, and this is Stockbridge Updates. You know what? This is our last program of 2025, and I was thinking about what we really need now. And I think it's that we need to drop the language of hate and find the language of love. The language of hate is about characterizations and scare tactics. It's about retribution, and I'm going to get you before you get me. It's the entitlement to be cruel to somebody else. It's the self-righteousness about your own position. Let's substitute the language of love. We used to know it. This country used to be the language of love from sea to shining sea. It's the language of reconciliation, of compromise, of community and comedy. The language of love. It's what we need now. Some folks say that the dam is broken. It's Republicans saying that, meaning that their party is weakening, that they're arguing with each other, that they're challenging their leader. That's not a bad thing. Sounds like the basis of democracy to me. But if that sort of solid wall of we all stand together, we all vote together, and we all believe the same things is breaking, then it's going to be our turn to pick up the ball and reform what we want 2026 to look like. I wrote a letter to The Edge about this. I hope they post it. But whether they do or not, there was a wonderful letter already in The Edge from a group of clergy proposing the same thing. Let's make it an avalanche. Everybody send a letter saying what we want is the language of love. You know, I wonder how much that would have helped my guest. Lou Fitzgerald is a wonderful person who suffered a great loss. His mama killed herself, and he, the son, found the body. Now, a person could do many things after a moment like that, but I'm so proud and impressed by what he did. He started an organization for love of tea. He'll tell us what that means. And he joins us now. Luke.
Hi, thank you, Carole, for having me, and hello, everybody. I'm Luke Fitzgerald. I'm the founder of The Love of Tea, which is a nonprofit organization focused on peer-to-peer support for suicide prevention. I started Love of Tea in 2021. As Carole mentioned, I lost my mom to suicide, and it was a jarring moment for someone like me, being her son and someone in recovery. I looked at it as two choices where that could have been a very negative time for me, and I could have gone downhill or backwards, or I could choose to go, forward and up, which is what I did. So we started Love of Tea. My mom passed in May of 2021, May 2nd, and Love of Tea was incorporated in August of 2021, and we officially became a 501c3 organization recognized by the IRS in January of 2002. So
let me stop you and ask you a couple of questions right there. For Love of Tea, that's your mom. What was her name?
Yeah, so my mother's name was Teresa, and Love of Tea is kind of a poetic name. It can maybe be a little confusing, but if you knew her, it's not confusing at all. So Love of Tea is just who she was. She was always the one that was there for her friends, family, neighbors. T for Teresa. T was her nickname, and she was always a loving person. I remember as a kid vividly, she would be, running around the house, maybe washing dishes or mopping the floor or whatever, with the phone tucked between her ear and her shoulder, always listening to, maybe my cousins if they were going through something, her friends, just always there and very solid and loving toward everyone that knew her. And so Love of Tea, we aim to bring the love that she gave to all that knew her to those that are suffering in hopes that they, don't die by the same means that she did.
That's beautiful. Now, you mentioned something, and not everybody watching may understand that, and you said peer-to-peer.
Yes.
Now, just explain that to us.
Yeah, so peer support is a newer and emerging style of assistance for people with mental health or substance use disorders. We see a lot of it for addiction, but peer support, as we're doing it, is people, our workers, are people who have had mental health struggles themselves and have gotten through them and, rebuilt their life in a positive way. So those people receive training, and then our program, we hire them to be there for those that are struggling. So our program is built with a drop-in space, and we also do a lot of outreach to the hospital and other programs where people are struggling with those suicidal
It reminds
thoughts.
me of an episode in The West Wing, and one of the characters is having a problem, and his boss comes over to him and says, "Let me tell you a joke about being in a hole." And he says, this person comes by and he says, I'll call somebody, or I'll drop you a rope or something. But one guy comes by, sees him down in the hole, and jumps in with him. And the guy that's been stuck in the hole says, "Are you stupid? You didn't help me. Now we're both in the hole." And this is the definition of peer-to-peer. And the guy says, "Yeah, but I've been in this hole before, and I know how to get out."
Yeah, that's exactly it. And people can feel so alone in that hole. And, over the last few years, we've really been able to help some people recover and go on to rebuild their lives and start to live in a meaningful way. Our mission statement is, love of tea to restore the will to live and thrive, and we've been able to see that. And at Love of Tea, we believe that those that live with suicidal thoughts can lead a beautiful and fulfilling life when supported. So support is the important part, and we've been able to see that happen.
A percentage of our population has suicidal thoughts, and a percentage of our population attempts suicide. And it's not as unusual as people might think. But for those that have never experienced that and want to better understand it, what do you see as the most common reasons for suicidal thought and suicide ideation? And folks, a suicide thought can be as random and fleeting as, "Oh, for God's sake, this is too much. I wish I were dead," and no other follow-up thought. Or suicide ideation can be where you actually sit down and think about it, and you think maybe about how you might do it or when you might do it. What brings people to those points from your experience?
Yeah, so I think from what I've understood in starting this organization and what I've been through, the typical stressors are a predisposition such as, major depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, substance use disorder, trauma growing up is a big indicator. Then there are life events such as, men over 45 are a big demographic that die by suicide, and so divorce, things like that, and major life events. So these are and have been the traditional risk factors. And then we're living in this time post-COVID where at the Massachusetts Suicide Prevention Conference this year, something was coined rather than PTSD, which we know as like soldiers coming back from Vietnam or the Gulf.
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
But now, in the post-COVID times and during COVID, the term coined has been persistent traumatic stress environment. So we're looking at all of this stuff that's being broadcast on TV or the internet is very divisive, very anxiety-provoking. We were told not to connect with each other for a period of time, and connection is really what brings people together and helps people. So to get very personal, in my mother's case, she would not stop watching the news. She was terrified of COVID, and she was such a loving and empathetic person that she thought she broke the rules or maybe spread the virus to others, and she couldn't live with the guilt of possibly killing someone, and she took her own life. Now, fast forward, that was the beginning of COVID, and now we're living in such times of turmoil. I don't like to really get into it because it gets upsetting to me, but everywhere we look, there's division. Financially, people are struggling to get by. Housing prices are through the roof. The strain of everyday life, just to make it the way someone did in 2018 or 2019, is so much more difficult. And so we're seeing people that may not have struggled in these ways now struggling. Like my mother's example, she never was someone that had, mental health issues or had to go to treatment for anything, and she died in that way. So we're seeing people who typically wouldn't go through these things, go through them, and then we're seeing people who would or have struggling more so. So
yeah.
it's
So
really...
Let's look at it this way. There are some people that have a pre-existing condition that makes them more apt to feel hopeless and helpless and want to get away. But then what Luke is telling us is there are external factors that can put us in that position. I can't afford my food and my medications. I can't find a place to live that I can afford. I can't do these things, and those are terrible stressors. Or, to mention where we began, folks, we've got to get rid of the language of hate. Okay. Now, tell me what would happen if somebody wanted to reach out to you for help. What would they do? What's their first step? What would happen next?
Yeah, the first step is, we're accessible on the website and social media, and people...
Give us that website.
loveoft.org. So it's LOVEOF, the letter T, .org. We're not a beverage company, so please don't type Love of TEA. You won't find us, and we don't offer tea at the drop-in. So, we're accessible. We're a grassroots organization. We have a lot of respect and love for the 988 suicide hotline. However, we don't have the capacity to have a hotline, so we don't have a phone number that you can just call and come in. We are reachable by email, but most of our outreach is done in the places where people are struggling. So we have groups at the hospital, at the partial hospitalization program.
Which hospital?
At Berkshire Medical Center. So people go to the partial hospitalization program after maybe leaving the inpatient unit, Jones 3, and they step down into the partial hospitalization program. So we do groups, outreach groups, where one of our peer workers goes into both the partial program and to Jones Behavioral Health Acute Unit, where they offer our services, make people aware, hey, our drop-in space is available Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 4 to 7. So then people can come from there and join. And I've worked pretty hard at building these partnerships with the partial hospitalization program and their staff, behavioral health, acute, their staff. So the program's become well-respected through those different units, and they send people to us, and that's where we see people start to come. Sometimes they come together with a friend from the program and start to build some resilience and camaraderie. And we also do twice a week at the Pomeroy House, which is a crisis stabilization house. We do 2 groups there a week.
And both of those locations are in Pittsfield.
Those are all in Pittsfield, yep. And that's where all the inpatient and mental health treatment typically is, in the Berkshires, centered in Pittsfield. So,
well, I was thinking of Breen Center closing in Great Barrington, and I'm wondering what you think that means, and if you could fill any part of that breach, or where are we with that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that Brain Center takes on a tremendous load and tremendous amount of stress. You know, we all know that, like we talked about, everything's getting more expensive. Things are more difficult to do. So they're getting hit with that from every angle with people coming. So I don't really know the details. I know that the building is closing. I did hear that they may still be able to offer some services down there, just not in that location. So that would be my hope. But what we do at Love of Tea is not try to compete with Brain Center or anybody else. We offer a complimentary service that is a really good and perfect kind of addition to someone's mental health treatment repertoire. So
Highly focused
on the peer support, yeah. So it's a kind of a thing where it's like going to, say if you're in college and you're having a rough time keeping up with everybody else, right? You're going to a tutor, someone that's been there, someone that's done the work. So our support workers are kind of just that, where someone comes out of the hospital, maybe they have a month or a couple weeks until they have their follow-up appointments. So they could come to us 3 to 6 times and get some help with just coping and maybe some encouragement to, hey, attend those appointments. Our peer workers, they don't know, we're not doctors or therapists. We're not diagnosing anybody. We're not giving anybody medication. So we're not telling them do this or don't do this. We're saying, hey, go to your treatment, engage in your treatment. Like, you can do this. Things can get better. Let's move forward.
Give human support.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of, I don't knock the clinical stuff. I mean, I work during the day. My day job is Massachusetts Department of Mental Health. So
right.
I'm very engulfed in this, and those things are needed. There are medications and just therapies that are going to help people, sometimes in a way that peer support can't. However, it goes both ways, where peer support can help in a way that can't as well. So It's a very, I guess, yeah, is it a symbiotic relationship? Is that the biology term? Where we're working together, and when someone's engaged in all these things, that's when there's really a recipe for success.
What I'm thinking, in answer to what you're saying, is how much renting of the social fabric has taken place, both because we were isolated during COVID and literally told not to interact, stand far away from one another, wear a mask, stay out of group settings. And that changed the social fabric. And then the hate speech and the divisive speech holds us apart. When we look for solace or support or just plain information, we somehow are entering a boxing ring. There isn't one fact. There's the fact and then the debate. There's everybody's sort of individual truth. They even talk about something expressing my truth. Folks, there's one truth. That way's up, that way's down. My truth cannot be any different. But we have all these challenges to the things that once supported us. It's almost as if you're perceiving that and stepping in with in a way, a new service. And I used to run an inpatient facility. Y'all know I'm a doctor and so forth. And we had a peer support arm as part of that, as people in or transition out. And it's a trained and empathetic friend, which is different from the doctor you might go to, the therapist you might go to.
Mm-hmm.
So there are levels of support. Gee whiz, Luke, this is a difficult time.
Yeah. It is. It's it's interesting, and I think that you know, in life, I always had some ambitions to start different programs. I look at Roots Rising, great program in Pittsfield, does a lot for youth. I had thoughts of something like that, but you don't want to duplicate things. And this is leading up to COVID, and then when I found my mom when she passed in that way, I just knew in that moment, this is my purpose. And I think, religion and God can be a complicated topic, but in that moment, I'm given my ultimate purpose, and it's, there's an element of weight to it and, burden, but it's something that's worthwhile. So continuing to do this, and in this grassroots way, it's like people that, give, $25, $10. We have some larger donors, but every little piece has created that program.
Let's talk about that for a minute. You're expanding now, as I understand it, into Adams, North Adams?
Yeah, we are working, and in the new year, we will be opening one night of the drop-in space, so a 3-hour block where people can come in and sit and be in community.
And where?
In North Adams.
North
we don't
Adams.
have the location yet, but that is the plan for the new year, and eventually, we'd like to come south also. So
let's take, Look, that's what I was, and with other places closing, that may be wonderful.
We can do that, and I do hope that there's a lot of great people dedicated to making things accessible. So I do hope that people are still able to access their psychiatric, their therapy in a way, and there's telehealth now. So I do hope that the burden is not too large and the gap isn't too large. I know that there's people really trying to make this happen, and I wouldn't knock any of these therapists or psychiatrists, medication providers. I wouldn't be here without that. So I like to say that we're working in conjunction with, and so if we can fill the gap, I would love to.
And let me just say the gaps are everywhere, regardless of education level, regardless of economic level. People are vulnerable.
Yes.
And they may be vulnerable to suicide. So let me talk a little bit about how you maintain yourselves and how you might grow. So what is the fundraising?
Oh, the fundraising. So for, we've thrown each year, we call it the Dance the Blues Away Gala. We started it in 2022. We did it at Berkshire Hills Country Club, so 4 years in a row. We've pretty much sold out that event, and we have raised, we did it for 2 years. Then in 2023, we launched the program, which was one night a week with one outreach group. Now it's 3 nights per week, 5 outreaches a week, and we're looking at our 5th annual Dance the Blues Way Gala, which is March 7th. This year it will be at the Stationery Factory in Dalton. And, we're looking to raise a significant portion. Last year, we were able to raise $38,000, and that really went a long way in the program and in the growth and the number of people we've been able to reach and help. So this is the time where after the holidays, we're ready. And it's kind of a, Dance the Blues Away for me, coming up with the name is like everybody's got the blues in February. March, maybe you're starting to come out of it, so it's a good way. It's a good thing to have something for people to look forward to, and they know after coming for the last 4 years that this is a fun event, and we have a good time. We have KJ Nosh, who's best in the Berkshires caterer, my buddy Mike that does the food each year, and it's really been awesome. We're going to have a jazz quartet with DJ at the end of the night, silent auction, and just a lot of fun.
And you like a double entendre, so dancing the blues away is also dancing to the blues.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good time. We have sponsorship opportunities. For sure, I've already started to work on that, so we're building on that, and we've had a few already, which we will start to announce. The sponsors on social media and show the community who is behind our work.
And let me ask you, as a companion to that, and I wish you good luck in March, do you have any other fundraising outreach, a letter, a mailing?
Yeah, we do have newsletters that go out periodically. So we will likely have one come out that says, hey, tickets are on sale. So if you're on that, we'll probably do that as like an email blast where everyone gets that email. We put the tickets on sale on January 2nd. So it's right after the holidays, and it gives somebody that next thing to look forward to.
Okie doke. So, listen. If you're feeling down or blue, if you want someone to talk to, Love of Tea. It's online, loveoft.org, not TEA, just tea. And if you want to help, because you know somebody that might need that help, or you feel compassionate towards people who are suffering from the blues, then you can get in touch through the same website, make a donation, and you can go in March, dance the blues away, and meet Luke. Luke,
yes.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. And I just want to say, too, with my mother passing May 2nd of 2021, that'll be 5 years in May, and this will be our 5th annual gala before the 5-year anniversary. So I just want to thank, the community and everyone that's helped me thus far to create this program and, really make a difference. One of our initial board members said, if we save one life, all of this is worth it. And, I'm grateful that we've been able to do that and do a little more. So it's with the help of everybody else that I'm able to make this. So thank you.
Okie doke, folks. See you in 2026.